Welcome back. It's time once again for License to Review. I've given Eric the license to review Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, the third James Bond film, in many ways the most famous and most important of the James Bond films.
Yeah.
Never been one of my, huge favorites. People
Which is
love it.
Hilarious, because I just loved this movie.
This is
one I'd never seen before.
This is one of the best viewings I've had of the film.
I had such a fun experience with this. It's wonderful.
It's a lot bigger and more explosive. It is unfortunate because I looked into it. So the director of this does direct some more James Bond films. All of them bad.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It is straddling the line really hard between just fun, between being a really fun movie that still takes itself seriously enough and being really silly and crazy and out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I loved about it. I think Thunderball, as much as I like it, goes a hair too far over that line. This, I think straddles it perfectly.
No, and it makes sense that this is the iconic James Bond film.
Yeah. Especially because the gadgets now and the classic car.
Yeah. And we established the formula that will keep for many, many years of at the beginning of the movie you have a love interest and then she dies halfway through. And then there's a second love interest, and sometimes that can be the evil femme fatale character, sometimes it's a new character, but there's always a second love interest, and there's a lot of... There's a formula to James Bond movies that starts with this. This is what a James Bond movie looks like moving forward, at least for a while. So much so that when Roald Dahl writes You Only Live Twice, he says they handed him the formula. This is how the acts must break down.
Wow.
They knew when this hit big, they had
James
something.
Bond looks like now. Yeah.
Yeah, and Thunderball fits this.
Would you agree that was halfway there with the last one?
Yeah.
It was.
It's
it
more
was on
there
its
in
way.
Doctor No than I think they realized.
Yeah.
It starts not fully formed, but closer than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a series that runs this long. It takes 3 movies and it's what everyone knows it as. There's a lot of things where you're and eventually it gets to, especially something this long, you would think, eventually it becomes what you think of it as, but it's not actually that for a while.
It doesn't take that long.
It's that almost from the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a thing in this movie that I have always had issue with, and watching it this time, I'm I guess it's not really a problem.
Oh.
So I've always taken issue with, one of the reasons the big thing I've always dinged this film for is I've always thought of this as the epitome of the villain that lets the hero just do whatever he wants. Where he doesn't kill him because he might know something, which doesn't make
he just keeps giving him chances, chances. Why is he doing that? Yeah, I wondered about that a little bit too.
And the reason he doesn't kill him doesn't actually make sense. I'll talk about that.
Okay.
But watching it, I'm well, he puts Bond in the jail cell, and then Bond escapes, and then he puts more guards there, because the first guard was the dumbest person on the planet.
That shot where he's surrounded by all those guards in in the cell is really funny.
And there's the big scene that I always thought of is and they let Bond just walk around. He's with Pussy Galore, who is working for Goldfinger, so that's kind of having security with him. I'm I guess he's not just walking around.
Yeah, kind of, but you'd think at least you'd have armed guards and stuff.
Yeah. But that always felt a hair too far for me, where I'm this is what everyone makes fun of. Is the villain just lets him... It's not as bad as I remember it, except for... So his explanation for why not to kill me is, if you kill me, 008 knows everything that I know, including Operation Grand Slam.
Right.
And he's
he name drops a thing that he gets lucky that he hears.
Well, and then...
he's just crawling around in the vents or whatever.
But Goldfinger is smart enough to then say... That's probably just something you heard. You don't know what that is.
Right.
And he goes, but can you take that chance?
Oh, what? Right, when he almost gets lasered.
Yeah.
Between the legs.
Yeah. What chance? If 008 knows everything that James Bond knows, which he doesn't, but if he does, okay, so you killed James Bond? So whether James Bond dies or is taken hostage, he's still not radioing back to headquarters. What changes?
That's a good point.
What's different? What's different if he keeps him alive or if he kills him? Because it's not like if he dies, all the information he has will magically transfer to 008.
Right. No, he'd have more leverage. He'd have any leverage over what he's saying if like he was the only one that had it. But then no, that wouldn't be leverage because you just kill him.
No, there shouldn't be any way he can get out of this.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because I'm sitting here trying to think about like what the scenario would be where it's like, oh crap, you know too much. I can't kill you now. The only way it would work is if he knew so much that he was able to take some piece out of the puzzle where the plan won't work unless he gives it back to him.
Or
like the Fort Knox plan, which is kind of genius, by the way.
Or if he makes him radio back to headquarters and say the mission's going ahead as planned, or something like that.
Yeah.
We're like, so they wouldn't send another. There's no reason. Like, it doesn't actually make sense.
I didn't think of that. No, It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, and that's always bothered me.
He should just get lasered.
He should.
And this will sound risque, but like if you're James Bond, that's the last place on Earth you want to be lasered.
In the book, it's a buzzsaw.
Oh yeah.
Because we weren't exactly to lasers yet. Because this is written in the late 50s, I think. So Goldfinger, for those that don't know, is it's the most important James Bond movie in a lot of ways. It's the most popular. It's the most famous. So this is the first one where we really get gadgets. In the last one, we had a suitcase that had some things in it. Like in this, he has, like, gadgets. I mean, they're still not... It's not like exploding toothpaste, but, like, he has, like, this little mini receiver tracker that sits in his shoe, and, like, his...
I don't know why he doesn't always keep it there.
I don't know. Nope.
He has to go out of his way to get it on his shoe, and aren't you risking someone noticing you? Like, why wouldn't you just leave your hotel that way? Doesn't it stay lodged in there? I don't understand.
Yeah, I do not know. This is where he gets the Aston Martin, which is his most famous car. In the books, he drives a Bentley, and we mention that when we give him the Aston Martin. He's like, "Well, what about my Bentley?"
Is that the one that he? And then I was trying to remember if he actually drove that in a movie, but I guess he didn't.
I mean, it might be the car he's just driving around in Dr. No.
The car in this, is that the one that
that's Skyfall.
That we bring back in Skyfall?
Yes. And also Casino Royale. He gets the car in Casino Royale.
All nostalgic.
Yeah. And if you watch Skyfall with me, when we get to Skyfall, you'll see it's exactly the same car. It's got all the same switches and everything.
Because I love it so much.
Yeah. It's got all the same switches. It's got the ejector seat and like it is this car. This is the most famous.
I was pretty sure, but
car.
I could have been wrong. You know.
There's a Lotus in Spy Who Loved Me that's probably the second most famous. But that car just doesn't look as cool. It's not as classy. But this is kind of where everything... This is the woman bathed in gold, which is another super famous image.
Yeah.
And how did we not do this in Austin Powers?
I don't know.
Like, just dipping a woman in something?
Yeah.
Because Goldmember is kind of a parody of Goldfinger a little bit.
Of course, yeah.
But we never do this in a... You would think this would be in the first movie. We would dip a woman in something.
Yeah.
And we do call back to this in Quantum of Solace. We have a woman covered in oil.
Especially because they make so much... like, they make so many nudity jokes, and...
Yeah.
You can actually get away with a mostly nude woman if you paint her up like that. It's weird that they never did that.
Yeah. But this is Sean Connery kind of fully settling into the role.
When we had the thing where it's like, would that really kill a person?
Yeah. I want to say Mythbusters did an episode that says that if you cover someone completely in paint, it will not kill them. I might be wrong, but I want to say I remember seeing that, because they did a James Bond episode. I think they also did an injector seat in that episode. See if that works in a car. I want to say it doesn't. I want to say there's like something wrong with like wind if you're moving in the car or trying to eject, but I might be wrong.
The electrocution in the bathtub is amazing.
So this also gives us our first James Bond on an adventure that's not connected to the rest of the movie. The previous movie had a cold open where it was Red Grant on a training mission, and you think he's going to kill James Bond, but it's not James Bond, it's just a guy wearing a mask. And so that's kind of... But this is the first time where James Bond is on a mission that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
It's just whatever he was doing before.
Yeah, it's just
Which
the end of his last mission.
I kept trying to figure out how it was connected, and then I realized, it's not really connected.
Yeah, no. So this is the beginning of that. It's an awesome opening sequence that really stuck with me as a kid, where he comes up in a scuba suit, and he takes it off, and he's just got a perfect suit underneath of it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's
really funny.
And then he goes, and he's like getting a drink at this bar, and he just set all these mines, and like it explodes, and everyone like runs outside. He's like, "What's going on?" And he's just like lighting up a cigarette, drinking a drink. And he goes back to his room with this girl. This is the other thing that's been burned in my brain since I was a kid, is he's making out with this girl, and he sees in the reflection of her eye that this guy's about to hit him. Now, here's the thing. This scene does not confirm or deny whether she's in on it. He just assumes she's intentionally distracting him, and he uses the woman as a shield. And that's hilarious. And then he fights this guy, and he throws him into the bathtub.
And that's where shocking comes from.
Yeah, and he throws a fan in there, and it electrocutes him. He's like, shocking, positively shocking. Also, one of the most famous Bond girls in Pussy Galore.
Yeah.
Certainly the most famous Bond girl name.
Uh-huh.
But also, Honor Blackman was a big deal. She was on the Avengers. Like, she was a big deal. Or she's on the Avengers after this, because I can't imagine the Avengers existing before this movie, but maybe I'm wrong. But she was a big get at the time.
Yeah, you said everybody loves the song from that movie. You don't understand, and I think it's decent. I get why people like that. And then the more I watch the movie, because that song just never stops. It did start to grate on me a little bit, and I don't know if I thought about it more because you had mentioned that or what, but then it was stuck in my head all week, and then I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like that song as much as I thought I did. But
and I don't like the singer of that song, and she comes back for a couple of Bond movies because it's a big one
for you, yeah.
I'm trying to think of other things to talk about. Like, there's so much to talk. This also creates the. Or not creates. This is the solidifier of the Henchmen.
Yeah, I thought Avengers was earlier than that. It starts in 1961.
Okay. I always think of Avengers coming out of James Bond, but I guess not. They start around the same time.
Yeah.
This also has the Henchman with some kind of deformity that's borderline preternatural.
Right.
With Oddjob, who's probably the most famous of these next to Jaws. He has a hat that he throws. He's also insanely strong.
You're like superhuman strong. Like, this is a comic book all of a sudden.
Yeah. Which we will push too far, in my opinion, with Jaws. I'll be interested to know if you think Jaws goes too far. Because I've had people fight, because people love Jaws.
Yeah.
I don't. I think he's too far for a James Bond movie. He is comically, indestructible, and I think it's too far. But we'll get there eventually.
Also, it's not the look you have a problem with. It's not the jaw thing.
No. I don't have a problem with him having metal teeth and being able to bite through things.
Yeah.
He is indestructible, and I can't deal with it. He's too indestructible.
He's over a couple, right?
He's in two.
Doesn't he show up at the end of one and then he's there at the beginning of the next? Or I forget how it goes.
He's throughout all of Spy Who Loves Me. People loved him so much they brought him back for Moonraker.
That's okay.
Which I recently found out I am part of what's that thing or it's the mass hallucinations, the mass false memory.
Oh yeah. I think you mentioned that once.
There's something
with me, but I forget what it was. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm part of that when it comes to Moonraker. Jaws gets this girlfriend, and I distinctly remember her smiling and having braces. And you're like, oh, he's got metal teeth, she's got metal teeth. She does not have braces.
That doesn't happen?
No. And I just recently
there's a bunch of people that think that.
I've just recently discovered that she doesn't have braces, and there's a bunch of people who remember her having braces. Very strange.
Wow.
I like to believe I've just crossed into a slightly parallel universe, but in my universe that was true. This is kind of the pinnacle of Connery. I don't know if Connery's ever better than this. I like Thunderball, and I like You Only Live Twice, but in both those movies you can kind of see he's getting bored. I think this is kind of the pinnacle of him being committed to being James Bond.
He's definitely not there. He seems to really enjoy that material.
Yeah.
And he just gets so much fun stuff to do. I think the scene that introduces Goldfinger at the beginning is really, really good. Where he gets on the radio.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. That's straight out of the book. The setup is a little bit different, which is interesting. Because there's a bit more continuity in the Bond books than there are in the movies. So he's there on a mission in this. He's been specifically asked to come sit on this. He's just at a spa place, and there's a guy there who knows him from I think it's Casino Royale. I think he's one of the card players there. And he's like, hey, I've been having trouble with this guy. He beats me every week we play, and I lose all this money.
Oh, yeah.
And he must be cheating. In this, it's just, it's part of his mission. And it's simpler and cleaner, and obviously Casino Royale hadn't been made, so, you couldn't do that. But,
yeah.
And Goldfinger says he has agoraphobia, and he has to stare at the building, which is not a thing in this. I remembered it being... some of these early ones are close enough to the book that I kind of sometimes forget what's in the movie and what's in the book. like the previous two, all the subtlety and nuance and character stuff is completely stripped out of this.
Yeah.
The books...
You notice we're not really talking about character and theme that much, because...
Yeah, there's a really interesting thing that happens in the book. So he leaves with Pussy, and he's with Pussy Galore, who we hint is a lesbian in this, but in the book is a full-blown lesbian, and the 1950s version of lesbian, which just means men have done terrible things to her, and so she doesn't want to be with men, and very kind of cringily, she's with James Bond, she's like, well, I never met a real man before. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
In the next book, we briefly touch on her, which is a thing we do in the books that we don't do in the movies, like, she never comes up again. In the next book, we talk about that, like, once all kind of, like, the excitement was done, and she went back to live with James Bond, he's real, like, stoogey, and, like, he's got, like, a very particular, like, I wake up at this time, and I do this thing, and I eat this for breakfast, and, like, the routine of his life, she just couldn't deal with it and leaves.
Oh, wow.
We don't get that stuff in the movies. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on. More so, there's a line that's not even in the movie that I thought was in the movie. The book is broken into 3 sections. Which is, I'm trying to remember, it's coincidence, something, and enemy action. Which is, if something happens, and then it happens again, and it happens a third time, it's, the first time is coincidence, the second time is something, and the third time is enemy action. If a third coincidence happens in a row, you know that someone's doing something on purpose, and so they meet, Bond and Goldfinger meet the first time with the card game. And they meet the second time with the golf game, and they meet the third time when he runs into him after the girl tries to kill him, and he talks about how, like, it's coincidence, it's something, and then enemy action. That's not in the movie either.
Yeah, and that's like a thing that would be really cool to put in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Why would you leave that out?
I also don't think Goldfinger is one of the best James Bond villains. He's very fun, but he has no threat, and I guess Oddjob takes the threat. Like he is the physical threat.
Yeah, because he's kind of just, a planner. Yeah.
And I guess that's fine, but it's always been a thing that's been a minus for me with this movie, where I'm like, yeah, he's fun, but, like, he's just alright. I don't know. I've never loved Goldfinger as a villain. His plan is amazing, though.
Yeah.
And in the book, it is just rob Fort Knox, as much as you can take. And he also doesn't kill all the bad guys, or all the... He brings, like, all of the mob bosses. They are working with him in the book.
Irradiated so that the gold is worthless, and then everybody else's gold is worth a lot more.
Which is genius.
And so then he can sell a lot more gold.
Yeah, and because there's no way... Because Bond does some, like, real quick calculations where he's like, it would take you exactly 7 hours to load as many trucks with all of the gold, and, like that's impossible.
Like, I never say anything about taking it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
And it's cool to have a reveal of what the plan is, because you, like Bond, are just assuming something, and then, like, there's a twist.
Sure.
And I like that because that works for the villain reveals the whole plan thing. You can see it in his eyes. It's this, like, feeling of superiority. It's like, no, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah.
You think
I can't wait for you to find out what it is.
Yeah.
Because you think you're 3 steps ahead, but you're actually way behind me right now.
Yeah, and that makes sense, where it's not just, I'm going to tell you my evil plan. It's like, I can't wait to tell you.
That's why I like that he's not physically imposing, because he's got that wit and that knowledge that Bond doesn't have, and so he's always got something over him. He doesn't need to be physically imposing.
That's true. He also has one of the best deaths, getting sucked out of the airplane at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's something that terrified me as a kid, like going on airplanes and stuff, because I was like, I don't want to get sucked out the window. But no, it's a solid James Bond movie. Like, if you watch anyone, this is, at least of the old stuff, if you watch any Connery, like, if you want to get it, this is the one. This is the one where everything kind of comes together. Like, this is what Sean Connery's James Bond is.
Well, just because something's quintessential doesn't mean it has to be your favorite.
Yeah. I'll be interested when I get through all of the Connerys, where this falls, because this was a much better viewing than I've had before. I've also seen this movie so many times, like, I watch it passively a lot. Like, I haven't actively sat down and watched this movie in a very long time.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, this time you had me sitting next to you, and I was laughing a lot.
Yeah, and you're carrying on and enjoying yourself.
It's great.
And you're just me like, how can the last movie be your favorite? This is so much fun.
It's comparatively so boring. I don't understand.
Oh, we also.
But the atmospheres are different. I mean, I get that appeals to you more.
Yeah. We also get our first Q, like going through the Q area where like they're working on all the different things.
Just Bond is so two-dimensional in these movies that I need something absurd to latch on to.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense when you get to...
Or I need a plot to just be so fascinating that the plot can carry me through the movie, which is not what I want, but...
Well, and this also has some really impressive stunts and sequences for the time.
Yeah.
The car chase is really good.
It's really good.
I don't know why we have a mirror on the corner of an alley just in case someone is fleeing through that alley. I wish it... Because the way Odd Job looks at it, it's always been planned. I wish it was just something that was there for some reason, where it's like Bond psyched himself out. Bond's being chased, and he sees headlights in the distance, and they're coming at him, and he's kind of playing chicken, and then he swerves because he doesn't want to hit the other car, and the Odd Job comes up, and you see that there was no other car. It's just there's a mirror there. That's really clever. It's really fun. I just don't know how they thought of it, like Goldfinger and his people. Like I don't know how they thought of it. But no, it's not one of my favorites.
Kind of Roadrunner, really.
Yeah, but it is good, and it is watching these in sequence. I totally get why it became like a global phenomenon, and the first two didn't. We're like, it's so much bigger and so much more bombastic.
Yeah.
It really does feel like,
and it moves at a clip comparatively.
Yeah. It feels like the changeover from like what was considered an action movie to what will be considered an action movie kind of a thing.
I mean, for the 60s, this pacing must have felt explosive, right? Like,
yeah. Especially just looking at the last two.
Yeah.
There's almost no downtime in this. Everything's always moving forward, doing something.
No, it feels more, kind of modern pacing.
Yeah,
It's weird because, like it's easy for me to have historical perspective and look back and be like, well, yes, like it's it's going to be a little bit slower. That's the time we live in. This and Thunderball are not like that.
No, and neither is You Only Live Twice. Probably more so, but not as much as the first two.
Yeah.
And also, it's important to note that this doesn't have Spectre in it. The first two films, we were setting up Spectre. There was no Spectre in this. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because I think he is working for Spectre or he's working for Smersh in the book, which is what we're doing before we do Spectre.
Is there some reason they left it out?
I don't know. Like I don't know if they just decided not to. It seems a weird choice. You spend 2 movies building this organization, and you make this movie, and you don't have him tied to it at all.
Yeah.
But it is a thing that we do in Daniel Craig, because Skyfall... Well, I guess we retroactively make Skyfall Spectre.
Yeah.
But when it came out, it felt like it was intentionally kind of mirroring Goldfinger, and it's like, okay, well, we did 2 movies setting up Quantum, and then we'll do this movie that's not tied to that stuff.
And then we'll finally get to it next time.
Yeah, and then when we got to it next time, they're like, by the way, that was us.
We just weren't allowed to say it then, but
yeah,
now we are.
Yeah,
we
didn't mention it, but Silva was working for us the whole time. We'll get to it. I'll get to it. You're probably not going to rewatch Spectre.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No. So yeah, we watched this. It's a good time. I think this might be a better movie to watch with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Goldfinger.
Well, there we go.
Next time we'll do Thunderball.
Thunderball next time. That's one I've actually seen before.
Yeah.
And I like a lot, so I'll probably watch it again. But that is it for today's license to review. And now we're going to finish up the omnibus.
Now the news.
Yeah, if you want to continue on with us, we're going to talk about some news that's happening in pop culture in the last couple of weeks. Lots of things to chat about.
News.
So, yeah, and I don't know if I even got it all written down. If you think of anything that I missed, because you said so much news earlier, and then I was looking at the news, and I was like, I wonder if I missed anything. Anyway, so we're going to go on to Captain's Log next. If you're watching this in the playlist, let the video play, and you'll get to see the next video after a quick commercial interruption, I am sure. Thanks a lot, everybody else, for watching. We sure appreciate it. We're going to move on now to the Captain's Log. Thanks for watching.